Hi, I'm Bob Barry, and we're in the Hollywood Hills with British photographer William Ellis. Good afternoon, William.
Good afternoon, Bob.
William, it's my understanding you've got an ongoing project called 1LP. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. 1LP is a portrait with an album of great personal significance to the subject. And I record a short interview with the person about why it's so special. And then those two elements appear together on the website, 1lp.org. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. And its effect is that it gives a great insight into the person who's appearing on in the portrait, okay, and their taste in music and the influences that it's had on them.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, from the original 1LP project, how are you developing this series? I mean, are you looking into other genres of music?
Mm-hmm.
What directions are you going?
Well, yeah, it started in jazz. It started in jazz, really. And the reason it actually came about was, speaking to many musicians over the years, usually about music, I really needed to find a format to preserve a conversation or create a conversation that I could work with in terms of photography as well as a narrative, as an interview. So I came up with the process that I've just described to you, and really decided to go out there and photograph as many people as I could to kind of create a contemporary document of musicians initially, and photographers and artists in other genres, some writers, and really it's a limitless project when you think about it.
Could you tell us about maybe some of the subjects you've interviewed? Do you have a favorite, or some of them that are interesting to you?
I wouldn't say I have a favorite. I feel privileged whenever somebody kindly agrees to do a 1LP session with me, because it's quite an insight into that person, the music, and it's quite an intimate kind of insight. So I don't have any favourites as such. There have been quite eventful sessions which I guess I could talk to you a little bit about. One that comes to mind was photographing Ron Carter, the great bass player, at his home in New York, and we've been in touch for several months actually. I met him at Blue Note on a trip to New York and spoke to him about the project, and he kindly agreed to do it. And we were just trying to get dates together, and it turned out the only time we could. The day I flew into New York, he flew out that afternoon to do a South American tour. So I went straight to his home from the airport, went in, we had a really enjoyable shoot, fabulous, insightful interview that he gave. And then I piled back down, out to the street, and I'm checking the levels I record the interview on my phone. So I'm checking the levels after the event, and there's nothing on the tape. So I'm stood in the street, oh no, it's a nightmare. So the only thing I could do was go back. So I went back to the building and asked the doorman to kindly ring Mr. Carter and explain that Mr. Ellis had returned, tail between his legs. So anyway, Ron Carter very kindly did the interview again. So that was quite a hairy moment. So taught me a lesson.
He's a very gracious man.
He is wonderful, wonderful.
Any other directions you're going to besides jazz musicians? I mean, where are you going with this?
Well, probably a couple of years ago, the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester, England, got in touch, and we had a meeting, and they commissioned a series of 1LPs sessions of visiting musicians in all genres: classical, jazz, popular music. Great masters who were giving classes there for their students. So they were creating decided to have their own document created of their involvement with music, which is obviously the core of what they do. So they took the view that it would be a benefit to show the students, I think, the connection between the artists that have been before, even these great masters now, and the influences that they've been brought to bear upon them. So that has led me to other areas, and I've been working with Birmingham City University on a series of 145. Actually, they kind of come up with a 145, so it's a single record, and they've just produced, they're about to publish a book on Northern Soul. So I did a series of portraits and interviews for them on that subject. So that's really interesting to be moving into other areas, and they're also working on an endeavour with the University of the West Indies on reggae. So I'm working on a series on reggae for them at the present time.
Is it all music related, or do you sometimes go off on a tangent?
Well, yeah, I've photographed a lot of music photographers and great. One particular photographer comes to mind, Jürgen Schaderberg, of South Africa, who I was fortunate enough to exhibit with a few years ago in that city, in Cape Town. And Jürgen was in London maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I contacted him, and we did his 1LP in a gallery. He had an exhibition in Mayfair, and so we did the 1LP, and I actually arranged him. He kindly agreed to stand in front of his portraits of Nelson Mandela. So when you see the picture, you'll see really what for me, really significant image that had of a truly great photo documentary guy. Yeah.
Do you feel that you are almost complete with this project, or do you see this as just ad infinitum?
Well, really, yeah, I don't think I don't see any end in sight. Of course, you can apply this idea to people in any walk of life, and anybody. And for me, it's an excitement. It's a great thrill for me to take people back in time almost. They go back. If you think about your 1LP and how it made you feel, and it takes you back, and I feel part of that kind of experience.
It does. It brings up all those memories from when you first heard the particular music that you were referring to. It's a big thrill. It really is. Is there anything that you feel you would like to share with us about your project, or anything at all?
Well, yeah, it's beginning to get recognition in the UK and the US. I did a premiere exhibition in New York a couple of years ago at the Archive of Contemporary Music. I've got a show planned for London this year, 2018. And again, we're going to be back in New York next year. We're doing a return show at the Archive. And I'm looking at. I want to put a book together on the whole project. That's ongoing. That's something that's building.
How many 1LPs have you done at this point?
I don't know.
Well, that's
I would say probably maybe 250 to 270 pictures. There are around 50 alone from the LA area.
Wow!
So there's a lot of source material.
You're a busy man, Mr. Ellis.
Well, yeah.
Yes, you are.
Keep doing it.
Well, since the airplane is going overhead, I think we should call it a night. Don't you?
The FBI have caught up with us.
Thank you so much for being here. And anyhow, it's been a joy. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Bob. Thank you.
You're welcome.